Good morning, warriors of purpose. Today, I want to speak directly to your heart because what I'm about to share will change the way you see your life, your blessings, and your faith. Before you do anything else today, I need you to stop, breathe, and focus, because this is not just another motivational speech. This is a life-shifting moment, and God is ready to move in your life. If you want multiplication in your blessings, if you want favor that lasts, if you want the kind of breakthroughs that make people ask how did they do it, then pay attention because today we're going to start your day thanking God and positioning yourself to multiply everything He has already entrusted to you. I don't care what yesterday looked like. I don't care how heavy your heart feels. I don't care how many obstacles are in front of you. What matters today is your posture, your willingness to stand in gratitude, to acknowledge His mercy, to trust His provision, and to move in faith even when the evidence isn't visible. This message will teach you how to live like Jesus multiplied what He had even in scarcity. You will learn how to transform your weakness into strength, your waiting into abundance, and your obedience into unstoppable favor. So, wherever you are, whatever season you're in, I want you to prepare your heart. Open your mind and commit to the principles you are about to hear. This is your day, your moment, your breakthrough, and it starts the second you decide to thank God for what you already have. Believe for what is coming and walk in faith with boldness and courage. Lord, I thank you for the tears I cried in secret, because you turned them into seeds for tomorrow. Lord, I thank you for the tears I cried in secret, the ones no one noticed, the ones that soaked pillows in the middle of the night, the ones that fell when I was strong in public and shattered in private, the ones I wiped away before anyone could ask if I was okay. Music, you saw every one of them. You counted them when I felt uncounted. You collected them when I felt forgotten. When my voice couldn't pray, my tears spoke. When my mouth was silent, my pain cried out to heaven. And you listen. I thank you for the nights I questioned myself, for the mornings I woke up already tired, for the moments I smiled while my heart was breaking. I thank you for the pressure that pushed me to the edge, for the weight that taught me how to kneel, for the loneliness that forced me to learn your voice instead of chasing applause. I didn't understand it then, but now I see that nothing was wasted. Not one tear, not one ache, not one silent cry that fell out of my eyes and onto the floor where only you could see, Father. There were days I felt invisible, days I felt overlooked, days I felt like I was doing everything right and still losing. I cried because I gave my best and still came up short. I cried because I trusted people who walked away. I cried because I prayed and didn't see immediate answers. I cried because I believed you, but the process hurt more than I expected. Yet even in those moments, you were working in places I couldn't see, planting seeds in soil watered by pain. Lord, I thank you for not shaming me for my tears. You never called me weak for breaking down. You never told me to hurry up and heal. You sat with me in the mess. You stayed with me in the silence. You held me together when I couldn't hold myself. When I thought tears meant failure, you showed me they were evidence of endurance. When I thought crying meant I was losing, you revealed it was proof that I was still alive, still believing, still fighting music to trust you. I thank you that every tear carried a lesson. Some taught me patience, some taught me humility, some taught me discernment. Some taught me how to let go of what I couldn't control. Some taught me that I don't need to explain my pain to people who were never assigned to heal it. Some tears taught me how to stop begging humans for what only you could give. Some tears trained my spirit to recognize your presence even when my circumstances screamed absence. Father, I cried when doors closed without explanation. I cried when prayers felt delayed. I cried when promises seemed distant. I cried when I had to walk away from things I love. I cried when obedience cost me comfort. I cried when doing the right thing didn't bring quick results. But now I thank you because every tear became a seed, and every seed went into the ground of faith, and faith never stays buried forever. You are teaching me that growth happens underground. You are teaching me that preparation is hidden. You were teaching me that what looks like delay is often development. While I was crying, you were cultivating character. While I was hurting, you were strengthening my roots. While I felt stripped, you were pruning me for increase. I didn't know it at the time, but you were setting me up for a harvest. I wouldn't have survived without those tears. Lord, I thank you for the tears that stopped me from becoming arrogant, the tears that reminded me I need you, the tears that kept me humble when success would have ruined me, the tears that slowed me down when I was rushing ahead of your timing, the tears that saved me from trusting my own strength instead of leaning on your wisdom. You used pain to protect me. You used heartbreak to redirect me. You used tears to align me. There were moments I cried out of fear, moments I cried out of disappointment, moments I cried out of exhaustion, moments I cried out of exhaustion, moments I cried because I didn't understand why you were silent. But even in the silence, you were speaking. Even in the waiting, you were shaping me. Even in the tears, you were planting something eternal. You never promised a tearless journey, but you did promise that joy would come. And joy only feels powerful to those who have known sorrow. Father, I thank you for teaching me that tears are not the end of the story. They are the middle, they are the process, they are the watering stage before the bloom. I thank you that what I cried over didn't music kill me. What I cried through didn't break me. What I cried about didn't define me. Instead, it refined me, it sharpened my faith. It deepened my trust. It stretched my capacity to receive what you were preparing. I thank you that tomorrow looks different because of yesterday's tears. I thank you that I won't enter my next season empty-handed. I am carrying wisdom. I am carrying resilience. I am carrying discernment. I am carrying gratitude. I am carrying a deeper prayer life. I am carrying a quieter confidence. I am carrying the evidence that you kept me when I couldn't keep myself. The tears watered my future even when I thought they were falling into nothing. Lord, there were times I cried because I felt unqualified, times I cried because I felt behind, times I cried because I compared my journey to others and felt like I was losing time. But you were never in a hurry, you were never anxious, you were never late. You were building me according to heaven's schedule, not human pressure. And every tear slowed me down just enough to stay aligned with your will. I thank you that you didn't rush my healing. You didn't force my growth. You didn't shame my grief. You allowed me to feel, to process, to break, to rebuild. You knew what I needed better than I did. You knew that if I skipped the tears, I would lack the depth required for the blessings ahead. You knew I needed roots before fruit, endurance before elevation, character before increase. Father, I thank you for the private victories no one applauded. The nights I chose to pray instead of quit, the mornings I showed up even when I felt empty, music, the moments I trusted you when doubt was loud. The tears that fell while I whispered your name, heaven saw it, heaven recorded it, heaven responded to it. Nothing I cried through was overlooked. Nothing I endured was ignored. I thank you that my tears changed me before they changed my circumstances. I thank you that my pain matured my faith. I thank you that my suffering sharpened my discernment. I thank you that what tried to break me ended up building me. I thank you that the seeds planted in pain will rise in purpose. I thank you that what I cried about in secret will one day testify in public. Not for my glory, but as proof that you are faithful. Lord, I don't regret the tears anymore. I honor them. I respect what they produced. I trust what they prepared. I no longer see them as weakness, but as warfare, as surrender, as worship, music as obedience when words fail. I thank you that you are a God who turns mourning into meaning, sorrow into strength, and tears into harvest. And even now, as I stand here breathing, believing, trusting, waiting, I know that what you planted through my pain is still growing, still rising, still preparing to break through the surface, still moving toward a future where I will look back and finally understand why I had to cry, why I had to wait, why I had to endure, and why every tear mattered. because even now you are still multiplying what I once cried over. And I place those tears back in your hands, trusting that what began in pain will finish in purpose, that what fell in secret will rise in power, that what broke me open music will bless me forward, that what I survived will serve me, that what I endured will empower me, that what watered the ground of my life is still working beneath the surface, still stretching, still strengthening, still preparing to emerge in ways I cannot yet see but deeply believe. As I stand here, grateful, surrendered, and fully aware that you are not finished, that the seeds are alive, that the soil is rich, that the process is holy, that the harvest is certain, and that even now in this moment of gratitude, you are still at work turning yesterday's tears into tomorrow's evidence of your faithfulness and your power and your perfect timing in my life. Even when I don't see it yet, even when I don't feel it music yet, even when all I can do is trust you and whisper thank you, while I wait, while I grow, while I remain planted, while I remain faithful, music, while I remain grateful, while I remain here knowing that you are still moving, still building, still multiplying, still preparing something greater than what I lost, greater than what I cried over, greater than what I thought I could survive, greater than what I imagined, greater than what I asked for, greater than what I can explain, greater than what I deserve, greater than what I see right now as I stand in faith, holding on to you, believing that the seeds are working. The ground is shifting, the season is changing. And what you started in tears will not end in tears, but in a future that carries the weight of purpose, depth, wisdom, and quiet strength that only comes from walking through pain with you. And staying when it would have been easier to quit, staying when it would have been easier to stop believing, staying when it would have been easier to harden my heart, but instead I stayed soft, I stayed open, I stayed faithful, I stayed grateful. I stayed trusting that you were doing something eternal with something that once felt unbearable, something that once felt endless, something that once felt like it would never make sense. And even now I may not see the full picture, but I trust the hand that planted the seed. I trust the God who never wastes tears. I trust the process that is still unfolding, and I rest in the knowing that what you have begun in me is still alive, still growing, still moving toward the moment when the soil will finally break and the harvest will rise. And until then, I will continue to thank you for the tears, for the seeds, for the process, for the growth, for the becoming, for the unseen work happening right now as I remain here in surrender, in gratitude, in faith, in patience, in trust, believing that what you are doing beneath the surface is greater than what I can imagine and stronger than what tried to destroy me and deeper than what I cried over and powerful enough to carry me into everything you promised as I stay here planted, waiting, music trusting, thanking you for every tear that brought me closer to you and closer to who you created me to be. As I continue to walk forward, believing that the harvest is coming even now while I remain right here in your hands. Father, I praise you for what I have, even while my heart aches for what I'm still waiting on. Father, I praise you for what I have, even while my heart aches for what I'm still waiting on. Because this place right here is uncomfortable, this space between promise and manifestation, this tension between gratitude and longing, this moment where my hands are full and my heart still feels empty, and yet I choose to praise you anyway. I choose to honor you not just for what you've done, but for what you are still doing behind the scenes in ways I cannot see, measure, or explain. I thank you for what is already in my hands, even when it doesn't look like what I prayed for. I thank you for what you've already trusted me with, even when I'm still believing you for more. I, music, thank you for daily bread while my spirit is hungry for overflow. I thank you for provision while my soul is still crying out for increase. I thank you for progress while my heart is still longing for completion. Father, this ache I carry is real. I've waited longer than I expected. I've trusted deeper than I thought I could. I've obeyed when it cost me comfort. I've stayed faithful when quitting would have been easier. Music, there are things I'm still praying about, still believing for, still hoping will change, still asking you to move in. And some days the waiting feels heavier than the work. Some days the silence feels louder than the noise. Some days it takes everything in me just to keep praising you while my heart is tired of hoping. Yet even here I refuse to become ungrateful. I refuse to dishonor what you've already done because of what hasn't happened yet. I refuse to curse the season I'm in just because it's not the season I want. I refuse to complain about the table you've set because I'm still waiting on the next course. I praise you in the middle, in the in-between, in the unfinished chapter, in the tension where faith is stretched and patience is tested. Father, I admit it hurts sometimes. It hurts to watch others receive what I've been praying for. It hurts to see doors open for people who didn't wait as long. It hurts to do everything I know to do and still feel like I'm standing still. It hurts to believe you wholeheartedly and still not see immediate results. But even in the hurt, I praise you because I know you are not ignoring me. You are preparing me. I praise you for the strength you've already given me. I praise you for the wisdom you've already poured into me. I praise you for the protection I didn't even realize was there. I praise you for the peace that keeps me from breaking down completely. I praise you for the lessons learned through delay. I praise you for the clarity that came through disappointment. I praise you for the maturity that only waiting could produce. Father, I don't want to become bitter while I'm waiting. I don't want my heart to harden. I don't want my praise to shrink. I don't want my faith to weaken. I don't want to treat you like you owe me something. You've already been too good to me. You've already carried me too far. You've already rescued me too many times for me to stop praising you now. I praise you for the job I have, even while I'm believing for the one that will change my life. I praise you for the income I receive, even while I'm trusting you for overflow. I praise you for the relationships that stayed, even while I'm healing from the ones that left. I praise you for the peace I've gained, even while I'm still praying for restoration in certain areas. I praise you for today, even while I'm dreaming about tomorrow. Father, I acknowledge that what I'm waiting on is important to me. It matters. It's not a small prayer. It's not a casual desire, something I've carried in my heart for a long time. I've cried about it. I've prayed over it. I've surrendered it. I've picked it back up. I've laid it down again. And still, I'm waiting, but I refuse to let waiting steal my worship. I praise you because you are not limited by time. You are not pressured by deadlines. You are not stressed by my expectations. You are not confused by my questions. You see the full picture when I only see fragments. You know what I need when I think I know what I want. You understand why the delay is necessary, even when it feels unbearable to me. Father, teach me how to praise you with a longing heart. Teach me how to worship you with unanswered prayers. Teach me how to thank you while my tears are still close to the surface. Teach me how to stay faithful when hope feels fragile. Teach me how to trust you without conditions, without timelines, without ultimatums. I praise you for what you've already done in me. I'm not who I used to be. I don't react the same way. I don't chase the same things. I don't depend on the same people. Music, I don't panic like I used to. I don't break like I used to. That alone is evidence that you are working even if the external things haven't shifted yet. Father, I praise you for teaching me contentment without complacency. I'm grateful, but I'm still hungry. I'm thankful, but I'm still believing. I'm at peace, but I'm still expecting. I'm resting, but I'm not quitting. I praise you because you allow me to desire more without despising what I already have. I thank you that what I'm waiting on is not lost. It's not forgotten, it's not denied, it's not impossible, it's simply not yet, and even in the not yet, you are shaping me into someone who can sustain the blessing when it arrives. You are expanding my capacity, you are refining my motives, you are aligning my heart. Father, I praise you for guarding me from receiving things too early. I praise you for protecting me from blessings that would have crushed me before I was ready. I praise you for delays that music saved me from disaster. I praise you for closed doors that preserved my peace. I praise you for unanswered prayers that later revealed your mercy. I praise you for the small victories I overlook, the quiet moments of peace, the simple joys I take for granted, the strength to get up again, the courage to keep going, the breath in my lungs this morning, the clarity in my mind, the ability to still believe after disappointment. These are not small things. These music are gifts. Father, even while my heart aches, I will not stop praising you. Even while my prayers feel unfinished, I will not withhold my worship. Even while I'm waiting, I will speak well of you. I will not let lack make me forget your goodness. I will not let delay make me question your faithfulness. I praise you because you are consistent when music life is not. I praise you because you are faithful when people are not. I praise you because you are steady when my emotions are not. I praise you because you are good even when my circumstances don't reflect it yet. Father, I bring you my ache without shame. I bring you my longing without apology. I bring you my desires without entitlement. I trust you with the timing. I trust you with the process. I trust you with the outcome. I praise you not as a performance but as a posture of trust. I praise you for today exactly as it is. I praise you for this season even if it's uncomfortable. I praise you for the growth happening inside me. I praise you for the patience being built. Music, I praise you for the faith being strengthened. I praise you for the version of me that is being prepared to handle what I'm still asking you for. Father, music, I choose praise over pressure. I choose gratitude over grumbling. I choose trust over tension. I choose worship over worry. I choose to believe that what I have today is enough for today, and what I'm waiting on will arrive at the right time. I praise you in advance, not because I see the breakthrough, but because I know you are good. I praise you not because everything is complete, but because you are faithful to complete what you started. I praise you with a heart that still aches, still hopes, still waits, still trusts, still believes, still leans on you, still wakes up expecting, still refuses to quit, still refuses to become bitter, still refuses to stop worshiping you right here in this space between what is and what will be. As I continue to praise you with what I have while trusting you music with what I'm still waiting on, God, forgive me for doubting you in seasons where you were actually building me. God, forgive me for doubting you in seasons where you were actually building me, because I see now how limited my vision was, how impatient my heart became, how quickly I judged silence as absence and delay as denial. I questioned you when nothing was wrong with you. I blamed you when nothing had gone wrong. I assumed you had forgotten me when you were actually forming me, shaping me, strengthening parts of me I didn't even know existed. There were moments I thought you had stepped back, moments I felt overlooked, moments I wondered if I had missed something or done something wrong. I doubted your timing, I doubted your intentions. Music, I doubted whether you were still working on my behalf. And yet the truth is you were closer than ever, doing deep work beneath music, the surface, while I was focused on what I could not see. Forgive me, Father, for measuring your faithfulness by my comfort. Forgive me for expecting constant clarity when you were teaching me how to walk by faith. Forgive me for wanting quick answers when you were developing endurance. I didn't understand that you were more concerned with who I was becoming than what I was receiving. I doubted you when progress felt slow. I doubted you when prayers went unanswered. I doubted you when doors closed without explanation. I doubted you when people left and plans changed. I doubted you when my strength ran low and my emotions ran high. I doubted you when obedience cost me more than I expected, and still you stayed patient with me, God. Forgive me for thinking you were punishing me when you were preparing me. Music, forgive me for thinking you were withholding when you were protecting. Forgive me for calling it loss when you were calling it pruning. I didn't see that you were removing things that couldn't go with me into the next season. I didn't realize you were saving me from outcomes. I would have regretted there were seasons where I prayed but didn't trust, where I worshipped but worried, where I believed you in theory but struggled to believe you in practice. I said the right words, but my heart was anxious. I declared faith, but my mind was restless. I trusted you with my mouth, but doubted you in my thoughts. Forgive me for replaying worst-case scenarios instead of resting in your promises. Forgive me, music, for letting fear speak louder than faith. Forgive me for assuming the delay meant failure. Forgive me for comparing my journey to others and questioning why you were moving differently in my life. I didn't understand that comparison would blind me to the unique work you were doing music in me. God, you were teaching me discipline when I wanted deliverance. You were teaching me character when I wanted comfort. You were teaching me consistency when I wanted celebration. You were teaching me how to stand when I wanted to be carried. You were teaching me how to trust your voice when I wanted visible proof. Forgive me for resisting the process. Forgive me for trying to rush what you were carefully building. Forgive me for asking you to skip steps that were necessary for my growth. Forgive me for wanting the promise without the preparation. I didn't see that skipping the process would have cost me the blessing. There were moments I mistook quiet seasons for empty season. Music moments I assumed nothing was happening because nothing was changing externally. But you were changing me internally. You were strengthening my discernment. You were deepening my prayer life. You were refining my motives. You were stripping away pride. You were teaching me humility. You were training my spirit to listen instead of react. Forgive me for doubting your nearness when you were teaching me intimacy. Forgive me for doubting your care when you were teaching me dependence. Forgive me for doubting your plan when you were teaching me surrender. I didn't know that unanswered prayers were shaping my trust more than answered ones ever could. God, I doubted you when I felt weak, not realizing you were showing me where my strength truly comes from. I doubted you when resources were limited, not realizing you were teaching me stewardship. I doubted you when opportunities were scarce, not realizing you were sharpening my focus. I doubted you when my circle grew smaller, not realizing you were purifying my relationships. Forgive me for thinking you were late. You have never been late. Forgive me for thinking you were silent. You were speaking in ways I hadn't learned to hear yet. Forgive me for thinking you were distant. You were closer than my own breath. Forgive me for thinking you were done with me. You were just getting started. God, I see now that those seasons built resilience in me. They built patience in me. They built wisdom in me. They built maturity in me. They built a foundation strong enough to carry what I'm still believing you for. Without those seasons, I would have collapsed under the weight of the blessing. Forgive me for doubting you when the path didn't make sense. Forgive me for doubting you when the instructions were uncomfortable. Forgive me for doubting you when obedience required sacrifice. Forgive me for doubting you when faith demanded silence instead of explanation. There were times I wanted you to prove yourself to me when in reality you were inviting me to trust you. There were times I wanted reassurance instead of relationship. There were times I wanted outcomes more than alignment. Forgive me for that, Father. I doubted you when you asked me to wait. I doubted you when you asked me to let go. I doubted you when you asked me to move forward without clarity. I doubted you when you asked me to stay planted instead of running, and still you remained faithful. God, I see now that waiting was not wasted time. It was training. Silence was not neglect. It was instruction. Delay was not punishment. It was development. Every season that confused me was shaping something necessary inside me. Forgive me for doubting you when you were teaching me how to hear your voice above the noise. Forgive me for doubting you when you were teaching me how to trust you without signs. Forgive me for doubting you when you were teaching me how to walk by faith and not by sight. I doubted music you because I didn't like feeling out of control. I doubted you because I wanted certainty. I doubted you because I wanted comfort, but you wanted surrender. You wanted trust. You wanted me to learn that my security is not in outcomes but in you. God, thank you for not giving up on me in my doubt. Thank you for not withdrawing when I questioned you. Thank you for remaining patient when my faith wavered. Thank you for staying consistent when my emotions were unstable. I see now that those seasons built spiritual muscles I didn't know I needed. They taught me how to pray without feeling. They taught me how to obey without applause. They taught me how to believe without evidence. They taught me how to stand when everything around me felt uncertain. Forgive me for doubting you when you were aligning my life. Forgive me for doubting you when you were rearranging priorities. Forgive me for doubting you when you were teaching me to value eternal things over temporary comfort. God, I surrender my need to understand everything. I surrender my timelines. I surrender my expectations. I surrender my demand for immediate answers. I choose to trust that if you allowed it, you are using it. If you delayed it, you are preparing me. If you removed it, you are protecting me. I release the guilt of my doubt into your hands. I release the shame of my questions. I release the fear that made me second. Guess you, I receive your grace. I receive your patience. I receive your forgiveness. I choose now to trust you even when I don't see progress. I choose now to believe you even when the outcome is unclear. I choose now to rest in the truth that you are always working, always building, always shaping, always refining. Even when I feel uncertain, even when I feel stretched, even when I feel uncomfortable, even when the season doesn't make sense, even when the answers are delayed, even when the path is unclear, even when my faith feels small, even when my strength feels low, because you are faithful, you are intentional, you are wise, you are present, you are good, and you never waste seasons. You never waste waiting, you never waste pain, you never waste pain, you never waste silence, you never waste process. You never waste anything surrendered to you, and I place every season of doubt back into your hands, trusting that even those moments are being redeemed, shaped, and woven into something purposeful. As you continue the work you began in me, while I remain here humbled, forgiven, trusting, learning, music growing, and choosing faith over fear. As I walk forward, believing that even the seasons where I doubted you are now part of the foundation, you are still building beneath my feet. I thank you, Lord, for closing doors that would have destroyed me even when I begged you to open them. I thank you, Lord, for closing doors that would have destroyed me. Even when I begged you to open them, even when I knocked again and again, even when I fasted, prayed, cried, reasoned, and tried to convince myself that what I wanted had to be what you wanted too. I see now how dangerous some of my prayers were, how limited my understanding was, how emotional my desires became when I couldn't see beyond the moment I was standing in. There were doors I pushed on with desperation, doors I attached my identity to, doors I thought were answers to everything I was lacking. I asked you to open them because they looked right, felt right, sounded right, and promised relief from the pressure I was under. I didn't know they carried consequences I wasn't ready to handle. I didn't know they would have cost me my peace, my character, my future, my calling. Lord, I thank you for loving me enough to say no when I couldn't stop saying yes. I thank you for resisting my impatience. I thank you for overriding my emotions. I thank you for protecting me from myself. I didn't realize that some closed doors were not rejection but rescue. There were times I cried when things didn't work out, times I questioned your goodness, times I wondered why you would let me want something so badly and then refuse to give it to me. I felt embarrassed by the closed doors. Music, felt confused by the silence. I felt small when opportunities disappeared. I didn't understand that you were sparing me from pain I couldn't see coming. I begged you to open relationships that would have drained me. I begged you to open positions that would have broken me. I begged you to open paths that would have distracted me. I begged you to open doors that would have fed my ego but starved my soul. And you didn't. You stood firm while I pleaded. You stayed silent while I panicked. You remained steady while I spiraled. Lord, forgive me for assuming every closed door meant failure. Forgive me for interpreting resistance as abandonment. Forgive me for thinking you were withholding when you were shielding. I didn't know that what I called opportunity was actually danger dressed up as favor. I didn't know that what I was chasing would have slowly pulled me away from who you created me to be. Some doors looked like success, but they required compromise. Some doors looked like provision, but they demanded disobedience. Some doors looked like promotion, but they came with pressure that would have crushed me. Some doors looked like love, but they would have taught me how to settle instead of how to grow. You saw the cost long before I ever saw the reward. I thank you, Lord, for every unanswered email, every rejected application, every relationship that didn't progress, every opportunity that suddenly disappeared, every plan that fell apart at the last minute. What felt like disappointment was actually divine interruption. What felt like loss was actually protection in disguise. There were seasons I felt stuck because everything I tried failed. I didn't know you were narrowing my focus. I didn't know you were removing distractions. I didn't know you were closing side doors so I would finally face the one path that required faith instead of convenience. You weren't slowing me down to frustrate me. You were slowing me down to save me. Lord, I thank you for the doors you closed gently and the ones you slammed shut. I thank you for the ones you closed quietly and the ones you closed painfully. I thank you for the ones that closed before I walked through them, and the ones that closed after I had already stepped inside and you had to pull me out. Even when it hurt, you were protecting me. I see now that some doors would have accelerated me too quickly. I wasn't ready for the responsibility. I wasn't ready for the scrutiny. I wasn't ready for the pressure. I wasn't ready for the temptation. I wasn't ready for the exposure. You knew what success without maturity would have done to me. Lord, you closed doors that would have tied me to environments where my faith would have shrunk. You closed doors that would have normalized compromise. You closed doors that would have kept me busy but spiritually empty. You closed doors that would have rewarded me financially but robbed me emotionally. You closed doors that would have made me look successful while quietly destroying me. I thank you for every time you protected my future at the expense of my feelings. I thank you for choosing my destiny over my desires. I thank you for choosing long-term fruit over short-term comfort. I thank you for choosing who I was becoming over what I was.